Tea. It's safe to say we love it. We drink 2 billion cups a day. That's around 700 million litres of tea every single day. That's enough to fill 280 Olympic swimming pools or 15.5 million water balloons a day. The British are usually associated with tea, but they love it so much the British alone drink 165 million cups every day. They have also drunk tea for over 350 years, but in fact the history of tea goes much further back than that. Sorry Britain. So where did it come from? The story of tea begins in China.
It comes from China.
Legend has it in 2737 BC, the Chinese Emperor Zheng was sitting beneath a tree whilst his servants boiled water for him. Then some leaves fell in from the tree above. They tried the infusion and the result was tea. In the 16th century, the Europeans began to hear of tea, mainly Portuguese traders who lived in the Far East. But the first known shipment of tea to Europe was from the Dutch in the last years of the 16th century. The Dutch then had trading posts set up on the island of Java. This was where the Dutch shipped the tea from back to Holland in 1606. So why do the British love tea? In the 1600s, the British East Indian Trading Company, these guys, were a monopoly on imported goods into Europe but never brought tea to Britain. The first dated reference to tea in Britain was an advert in the London newspaper in September 1658. It announced the China drink was on sale in the coffee house in the city. From that, tea began to slowly come into Britain until King Charles II, the man who saved Christmas, married a Portuguese princess called Catherine of Braganza.
Bragança.
She was addicted to tea and made it fashionable to drink for the wealthy and who could afford it. Then, in 1664, the British placed their first order of tea for around £100 of tea to be shipped from the island of Java. In 1689, the first tax on tea was introduced, classic government, but it was so high at 25p per pound that it almost stopped the trade completely. The government then reduced it to 5p per pound in 1692, which remained in place until 1964. Britain then imported £15 million of tea annually. Consumption had increased by nearly 200 times between 1701 to 1750s, though the increase only included tea that was taxed, that could be counted. Smuggling was then adopted for the sake of profits and political protest. The smugglers alone imported £7 million annually. In 1834, China was the country of origin for most of the tea that was imported into Britain, but to end its monopoly gave the East Indian Trading Company the idea to grow tea in India. A quick bit of background: in 1757 the Battle of Plassey took place in India. This was between the East Indian Trading Company and an uprising led by, I'm not going to pronounce that name. It was a victory for the East Indian Trading Company, but it was on that day that the East Indian Trading Company's armies went from defending shipments of resources to conquering and beginning their rule over India. One of the main East Indian Trading Company leaders, Robert Clive, then made himself governor over Bengal and built himself a palace there. Okay, back to the story. The East Indian Trading Company began by the destruction of farms and killing of cattle to make room for tea nurseries. In 1858, the British government took over direct control of India through brutal force and the destruction of cities, tribes and anyone else who stood in their way. Just over 55 years passed. Then in the First World War, the government took over the importation of tea to Britain. This was to ensure that the essential morale-boosting beverage continued to be available at an affordable price in Britain. It was then tea had firmly established itself as part of the British way of life. Then again, the government took control over the tea imports during the Second World War, and tea was rationed between 1940 until 1952. 1952 also saw the re-establishment of the London tea auctions. Regular auctions took place here since 1706. The auctions were the centre of the world's tea industry until the last auction in 1998. The London tea auction closed due to the growth and improvements in communication over the years. Tea bags were invented in America in the early 20th century, but sales only really took off in Britain in the 1970s. Now it's hard for many tea drinkers to imagine life without them. And that's the tea. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.